everyone. We are the Gratitude Girls.
The Gratitude Girls are in the house. Hi, Lori. How are you?
Hi, Catherine. I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm really good. It feels like we've been driving to get here all day long. You know, when you just
right?
you can't wait to get somewhere and you're like, are we there yet? So I want to welcome you and I together because I feel like it's been a while since we've had this sort of scenario going. And also, maybe we can introduce ourselves to our new audience because we have some lovely new clients and audience with us tonight and a fantastic guest. So I'll start. My name is Catherine Asaro Myers, affectionately known as Rara's in the House. I'm broadcasting to you live tonight from lovely Niagara-on-the-Lake, Ontario, Canada. And I'm here with my amazing guest, Lori Delperdecki.
Yes, and I am outside Nashville, Tennessee.
And Lori's my partner. When I said guest, I really meant to say my partner. Lori, I was thinking about this today. We've done some amazing things and we have some great things sort of on the burner, you might say. And I think we hit a new level. I feel like with this show tonight, unofficially, we can announce that we've really crossed a threshold in our business. And in doing so, we can celebrate with the guests that we're going to announce. We can celebrate that we've really gone into like the zone where some businesses really wait to get there. And you plan it, and then it happens, and you're like, okay, what next? So I'm really excited and honored to be able to say that we've come to this bridge, so to speak, in our Gratitude Girls career, and it's just going to get better.
Yes, absolutely. Always gets better. And you never know what we're going to do, right? Or where we're going to be.
Well, someone might be wondering, how is it possible that we are here doing this show? And I love this story, and I so love the way that you tell it. So for our guest, Marlene, tonight, and for the new audience that we have, why are we doing this show? So when we started, the word gratitude and gratitude journal and gratitude show was really uncharted territories. Now it's a buzzword. But let's talk about how we trailblazed this 13 years ago.
Right. Yes. We've been doing gratitude since before everybody else. Right. But yeah, so Catherine and I actually are in a direct sales company together, and we're both one of the top leaders in the company. And at our international convention one year, way back in 2013, our CEO always would do a theme for the year. And so that year it was gratitude. And then he would ask all the distributors and all the customers to vote for who was their person that was the epitome of gratitude. And so everybody got to vote. So hundreds of thousands of people. And Catherine got picked. So our CEO gets up on stage. He gives all her accolades and attributes and announces her. She goes up on stage. I'm the techie person. So I'm in the back. I'm taking video. I'm taking pictures. And then all of a sudden, our CEO says that for the first time ever, there was a tie, and he starts telling about the other person. And I kept thinking, I was sitting there and I was like, okay, I knew almost everybody in the company. And so I was like, who is it? Oh, maybe it's this person. And then he'd say something else, and then I know it would knock out that person. And so I kept trying to think of who it was. And he ended up saying my name. So Catherine and I met on stage in front of thousands of people. And it was just literally like that, like they say, that love at first sight as business partners. And we knew we both are of the same mindset that nothing happens just by coincidence. There's a reason for everything. And so then we set out to figure out what that reason was and what we were going to do with it. And literally within 2 minutes, Gratitude Girls was born.
Lori, I remember that moment. My knees were shaking. I remember when I went up on stage, I wrote that in my I am statements. And you're very humble, and Lori will not tell you this, so I will. Lori was voted in our company, or honored in our company, for giving the most gifts. Now think about that. In our entire company, she gave more gifts than anyone. It was tracked. It wasn't even a question. The company knew how many gifts she gave. What does Lori do the very first minute she sees me? She gives me a gift, which I still have, of course, that I can see every single day when I'm here in my bedroom. When I met Lori, I remember thinking, I wonder what it would be like to meet her and to receive a gift from her, because it piqued my curiosity. And as soon as we saw each other, as soon as we walked down the steps off that stage, as soon as we touched hands to sort of support each other to walk down the steps, because we were wearing, those kind of shoes. So we were there to lend a hand to each other. It did become a dream come true as far as business goes, because you don't hear that too often, right? You don't hear about the match. You hear maybe about the difference. You don't hear about the cohesiveness. And what we managed to do is our CEO really managed to put the two of us who were very aligned on stage and let the universe take over. And that feels so good. 13 years later, 10 years later, 13, I don't know how many years it is, 2013 to now, it's 10 years. We're in our 11th year. It feels so amazing. And we have the opportunity to invite people and invite guests and friends and colleagues and share their gratitude story. And the purpose of tonight is for us to share with you our friend and our guest and her story. You've heard one of ours, and there are so many more. But what's really important is that you put everything down, or you pick up a tea or whatever you want, and you listen, tune in, put your headphones on, and tune in to who we're going to introduce you to now. So I'll read a little something, and then I'll speak from the heart. Marlene is a creator and leader of the highly successful Heart of Networking organization. She describes herself as the connector of people and a creator of opportunities. One of Marlene's greatest joys is to facilitate the connection that business owners need to move their business forward. Virtual Heart of Networking events are monthly events and training opportunities that take people to the next level. Unique quarterly in-person events around the calendar. Today, they just had their picnic, and Marlene was explaining that even though it was raining, it didn't affect them. The show must go on. Marlene has been an entrepreneur her entire career. So Marlene speaks from firsthand experience. Helping others is Marlene's passion, whether it's through networking connections, educating, or creating a spotlight for someone else. All members are given the opportunity to shine. Let's talk about Marlene. Marlene has been in the effective business networking space since 2005. And in 2012, a year before Lori and I met, Marlene created the Heart of Networking. Marlene was named the Ajax, that's a town here in Ontario, Canada, the Ajax Pickering Board of Trade 2018 Business Person of the Year. And Marlene is very involved in the local business community. She's honored to chair 100 Women Who Care Ajax Pickering Whitby, and gladly devotes her volunteer time to help this stellar organization continue their worthwhile work in the community. We have all of Marlene's links and business communications so that you can reach her. You can see this all after the show, but on a personal note, I would like to say that Marlene is a friend. We network together. We've done a lot of fun things. During that time of being online, we developed a strong bond when we couldn't go belly to belly. So, when you're with a real networker, when you can build a relationship with someone and feel like you're with them. I remember one day I was in the car and I had some news about myself I wasn't so thrilled about. And I called Marlene, and I knew that she would be there and she would be able to hear what I had to say. I think it was about a meeting that I needed to reschedule with her. And rather than say I just rescheduled, I felt open enough to share truly what was going on in my life. And Marlene allows that to happen. She gives you the opportunity to open your heart to her. No wonder, Marlene, your company is called the Heart of Networking. Welcome to the Gratitude Girls.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. It feels like it's been a long time. It's like a year ago we booked this, right?
It was a very long time ago.
Yes. There's proof and testament that it takes a year to get on the show. And once you say yes, we just expect you to show up. So thank you so much for going through your barbecue, your picnic, and getting here today. So tell us a little bit about what happened to you today. You held an annual picnic in your business?
Yes, we started that last summer. And there's a park in this area and there's a huge gazebo there. So the rain did not bother us. In fact, it was kind of nice to be inside watching the rain. And we had a wonderful group of people. And I'm always of the mind that who's meant to be there is there. And so we had some fun and exchanged some ideas and had some door prizes and just very relaxing and a great way to spend an afternoon with like-minded women. It was wonderful.
So nice to be together with people, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. It's nice to have us go. Lori flies to come and see me from Tennessee. Like, there's nothing that stops people from being together when you want to be with them. You know, a plane, a train, a car ride. When you want to be with someone, you get with them. Like you said, the right person shows up. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. If someone's not there, then they're probably just not meant to be there for whatever that reason is. So thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. And it's nice to see that you're hosting these events to bring, I guess it's business women together, right?
It is.
Marlene, we talk about gratitude and how many years you've been networking. It wasn't really a popular thing to talk about that 15 years ago, not like it is today. It's a hot topic. Is this woven into any of your networking at all? Do you focus on gratitude?
It's certainly indirectly. I think it's just a part of life. One of the sections of our virtual meetings, we always close with a session called From the Heart. And that is delivered by one of the members and a different one each time. And they talk about, sometimes they want to share a poem or one of their own stories or something that was meaningful to them. And it's meant to be something that the members can take with them and take on, to make them feel good and inspirational. And often the gratitude is the theme for that From the Heart, often.
Well, you've just touched our hearts by saying that. We're so happy to know that if ever you decide to do a theme on gratitude, we might be able to share a few pointers or maybe a chapter from our book that maybe that would suit one of your meetings. Marlene, you've been a connector for so many years. Is that how you were born? Were you born that way? How did that happen?
Well, I was in direct sales for a very long time. As you know, in the fashion business, that's where we really developed our relationship. And I used to do fashion shows in people's living rooms, and the hostess would, of course, invite her friends. So in that case, the hostess really was the connector. And so I don't think I really was that person in the beginning so much. And then I soon developed that when I started to go to networking events. And in the beginning, I really didn't think I needed networking because the hostesses were introducing me to all these new people, right? And I didn't realize there was so much more that I could do if I was networking, and so much more that I learned from networking, not just meeting, your next client, obviously, but learning from one another and just supporting one another. It's been quite a journey. And I've learned that at each step of the way I've learned, and then you start to get satisfaction from that, and then you want to do more, and it's just now it's a way of life for sure.
Blossomed into that? Was that like you tripped on it with that kind of thing? Like it came right to you? It came to your footstep or your doorstep rather?
Yes, it wasn't something that I had planned. Um, it just I was attending one of my first networking groups, and the founders of that organization were looking for a new chapter director, and they suggested that I should find out more about it. I knew nothing about it, so they saw something in me that that kind of got things rolling.
Networking has changed so much over the years, over the decades, right? It changed over the last couple of years for sure.
Mhm.
Could you share an observation on networking? So maybe someone's watching tonight and they're new to networking. It's possible, right? Somebody
Oh,
starts,
absolutely.
they had a corporate job and they now have to figure out how to network. Can you share maybe some network? And I don't want to say networking tips because I don't want this to turn into that kind of meeting, but think about like what has changed for you. Maybe Lori and I can do the same thing. What has changed for all of us over the years in networking? And maybe you'll start off, and then if Lori wants to go next, and then I will. So what's happened in your life in networking? What's the difference that's obvious to us?
Well, I see women really understanding the value of effective networking. And I think one of the main things is to really be curious about other people. I think there was a tendency at one time for networking to be, here's my business card, and not developing the relationships. And I think we're much stronger with that. And that curiosity about other people and what they do, not just what they do, but why they do it, what gets them up in the morning, that kind of thing. And really truly developing strong relationships. Sometimes they end up collaborating on an event, or, there's all kinds of reasons. That most of my team, I'm going to say, I have found at networking organizations, whether it's social media person, bookkeeper and tax preparation, all of that, all those services that they all came to me through networking, and that's been high value for me.
Well, Lori, I'll go next and then I'll have you go because I know you have a question for Marlene. The difference in networking for me, when I first started my real estate career, you got leads and you kept them to yourself and you worked those leads. There was no telling anybody who walked in and who called. You got a lead and that was gold, no pun intended. And you figured out what to do with that name and that phone number and that person so that you could service them and make the sale. That's how real estate was when I was in my 20s. A couple of decades ago. So whatever we did to put our name out there, if that was called networking, put an ad in the paper. I used to be the person that wrote the ads, make the phone ring. I was the person to get the phone to ring, be in the office. Soon as the walk-in would come in, that networking was really one-to-one, and you were not sharing that information with anyone. It was very Sicilian, New York. That's how my networking experience started in my 20s. Lori, what about you?
Yeah, well, for me, I had joined a couple networking groups for about 5 years, and then I decided that I was going to take everything I loved about those groups and everything I didn't love about those groups, and I created my own. And so I ran my own networking groups here in all over Nashville in Middle Tennessee, 7 times a month for 16 years. And I just retired from that a couple years ago and handed the reins over to another friend and major networker. But I absolutely loved it. I was the same thing. I'm a total social butterfly anyway. And so I would meet with people, but I would also incorporate, the corporate sales training and the personal and business life coaching training that I do. I incorporated that into it. And I had different speakers, just like we have here at all my luncheons, and that taught people different things. But then I also would teach people, like, you have to meet for one-on-ones. You can't just come here for that 45-second to 1-minute spiel and expect people to just pay you money for whatever you're selling, because guess why? They're here. They're here to make money too, right? And so I just made it my mission to be the Nashville networker and help people to connect to other people for whatever they needed, just like Marlene said, and just like we've done over the last few years with moving just a few times and building houses and renovating houses. We've needed all kinds of different people, and the same thing, I got them from my network.
Good point. So we've all done networking at different points. The one that most impacted me was in my 20s when we were keeping it to ourselves. I only learned decades later that you really want to share that information. You don't gather it for you, you gather it for others. And that's what we learned. Nobody really taught us that. It was get something and do something with it. Now it's give. The book's The Go-Giver by Bob Berg and Robert John Mann. Being the go-giver positions us to be the person to help and not with what we have to sell. So thank you. I liked going around the table with that. Lori, I know you have a question for Marlene, and I know it's about gratitude, so I'm going to give you the floor.
Yes, of course. So, of course, this is the Gratitude Girl show, right? So we know that everybody has all kinds of things that they're grateful and thankful for in their lives. But if you could just pick one thing, one story that you could share with the entire world, all of our listeners, would you just share that with us? Some gratitude story.
That's a really difficult thing to just pick one. I guess you know that, right? Well, the one that comes to me top of mind is the fact that I was given a chance for that first director position. I'm very grateful for that, and I'm grateful that those two women saw something in me that I didn't necessarily see in myself, because it took me on a whole new career path. I had been only in direct sales in fashion up until that point, and then I ran them side by side. But certainly they it just giving me that opportunity. I'm grateful for so many people. In direct sales, we have so many mentors, and there's so much training, and everything is given so fully and openly, and that was a new experience for me. And so it's really, it's really across the board. It's a number of different people who gave me opportunities, and somehow I had the good sense to grab onto those opportunities and make them work. So I guess that's not really just one thing, but it's hard for me to separate that out because it's kind of a whole layer of my life.
Thank you for sharing that, Marlene. I was just thinking as you were speaking, because you talked about so many different things. What's the biggest networking blooper, for lack of a better word, that you would like? A blooper would be something that happened that you're thinking it was funny. Maybe at the moment it wasn't that funny, but it's funny now when you look back on it. Is there something that you can just pull out the top of your head? Lori, let's see if we can do the same thing. Networking blooper. It's funny when you tell it now.
Well, that's what one of you go first, and I'll think of something.
Okay, I'll go first so everybody can think. And this is, when I say blooper, to me, this is a form of that. I went to my first big BNI networking meeting, and my sponsor in Send Out Cards said he was going to go in and ask for what was currently important to him. And I'm thinking someone who wants to send cards, right? Isn't that what's important? And he said, no. Now, there were 250 people in this meeting. He said what was really important to him was to find a coach for his son who played hockey. He said, I'm going to be in a room with 250 people. They're all going to send cards. I'm not even thinking about that. Who doesn't send a card? But that's an opportunity to ask for a coach. And I thought, really? And he said, sure. And he was extremely comfortable. To me, that was just out of the norm. Like you're going into a networking meeting with 250 people, you're told to go in and ask for something that's pertaining to your business. And Alex decided to take the opportunity to speak from his heart. And when he explained that he was a hockey dad and how many kilometers he drove, and his son was a hockey player, and he told the story, and he was looking for a coach, someone stood up right away. And he made an amazing connection. And I learned from that as we believe we should go in and say what somebody might have told us to say, Alex taught me that when you speak from the heart about what's going on in your life at this moment, there is no script. It is what's going on. There's nothing to remember. There's no order in which I have to tell this story. It's what's happening today. And this is how I feel. And this is what I'm asking 250 people to do for me.
And as you're talking, I don't see that as a blooper. I see that as what we should all be doing, is exactly what you said, asking for what we want and not focusing on the, the dollars or the next client. I have a friend in the mortgage business, and she does a lot of training with mortgage agents, and she calls it commission breath. She said, you can smell commission breath a mile away. And, that's what you want to avoid, right? And so building that relationship and finding the coach, finding your hairdresser, finding a new house cleaner, finding whatever it is that you need, that's all value.
Right. This meeting that we were given a directive on what we were to do. So the blooper was that he didn't follow the directions. And
Right.
that was right. So what he did there, and I agree with you, our philosophy and theory is wonderful. The blooper was Alex did what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And he did it from the heart because we were given a directive, do this. And he went and did something else. And I thought, do you do that? So for me, that was a real amazing eye-opening, because when you don't want to follow the rules and someone shows you that you don't have to, that's great.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah.
Right. So let's go around the room. Lori, anything? Marlene, you're still thinking, right?
Well, I am. There's one example that I could share. And it kind of is more of the what not to do. But I always see as it wasn't me personally, it was one of somebody that was attending. And I always say that the cardinal sin of networking is offering unsolicited advice. And this one particular member had a real habit of doing that. And you could literally see as she entered the room, people would filter away. And, I did take her aside and I tried to explain that. But when someone is that focused and that goal-oriented, I'm not sure that it actually was absorbed, shall we say. But that was, that is a big blooper. That's a big no-no as far as, building relationships. You just can't build relationships with that kind of attitude.
You're right. That's a good point. Lori, any bloopers or something like a blooper?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a blooper, but it's something that I thought of though when you were talking, and that is, so at my meetings, instead of like most networking meetings where there's one person that's the 8 to 10 minute speaker and they talk about whatever it is that they sell, right? They go in depth of that. And I noticed when I was attending other people's meetings, every time that happened and during the like 1 minute spiels, people would kind of tune out. They would check their phone, they would look at the wall, whatever, right? And so I decided in my meetings, one, I had an 8 to 10 minute speaker, but it was always usually like a life or business coach, or it was another speaker or some sort of trainer. And I would get them to come in and they would train for that 8 to 10 minutes. So it was always something different, and it was something of value to the people that were there, right? Because a lot, like some of these trainers that I had, they charged tens of thousands of dollars to speak at an event, and they spoke for me for free. So that was nice. But I would have that. And I guess it was just kind of, I'm a mixture of, a mom that raised a bunch of kids, as well as I used to run a preschool. So I was a teacher there. And then I was a teacher at my kids' Christian school for a while. So I've got that like teacher mindset that when the kids misbehave, act right. And so I got to where I had no problem like mentioning in the middle of a session, please don't look at your phones. Everybody pay attention, because you would want somebody to pay attention when you are talking, and I would sometimes say that in the middle. I would sometimes say that like right as we pass business cards before the 1-minute spiels, or just whenever. And sometimes I did even pull people aside and like you said, give them the little talking to, but you never know if people take it or not. But that's, and it is funny because that's what a lot of people would say, that I was the mom of networking because I made those adults mind while they were in my class.
That's fun to hear. So you had them accountable for what they were there to do. Listen, I love that. So Marlene, we have had a chance to have a conversation now. We like to do a part of our show where we pass the mic to you. You're very familiar with what it's like to lead, and we'd like to give you the opportunity to ask us both a question, same or different. Just let us know who you're speaking to, and we'll be happy to answer it. This is the part where we really put trust in you.
Well, I'll try not to let you down. Well, I know that you're both coaches. Is that correct? Yes. So I'm wondering, over the last 3 years, as we've all, as everything has changed, is there a difference in what clients are looking for as far as direction or what they need to be coached on? Has that changed? Has our psychology changed in those last 3 years?
Who are you asking first?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll ask you, Rara.
Okay, great. So that I understand the question, has the psychology of the client changed in what they're asking for in the field of coaching?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I see some things as a Gratitude Girls coach, and I see some things in my business, the Bridge. So I'll answer for the Bridge briefly. Some people got really nervous and uncomfortable with what happened with removing belly to belly interaction. And that brought up some insecurities. And to many people's surprises, it brought up insecurities they didn't even realize they had. And those insecurities led to behaviors which created the reaction. Some people were insecure, they stayed at home, they ate. They baked, they cooked, they ate. They were being seen from the chest bone up, not getting dressed in a suit or a tie, and they started to let things happen that they wouldn't have let happen. So I recognized this because the narrative that came to me was, I can't believe what happened to myself. I really need to pull out of this. Successful businesses, successful business owners, successful entrepreneurs. It didn't matter if it was 6 figures or 7 figures or startup businesses. The problem was the same for many people. So I recognized that my business took off during that time. I made myself extremely available, put everything else aside to roll up my sleeves and get in and work with being grateful, coming from a position of strength, avoiding lack mentality, teaching how to avoid lack mentality, and to do what my mother-in-law always said, may she rest in peace, hold your head up high and be proud. And my coaching was focused on the inner part of what happened to people and how it affected the outer part. It was really heart-to-heart coaching.
Interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lori, is that a question you can answer as well?
Yeah, I can answer it. Mine's a little bit different. And but I will start to say that, the whole it is funny because so many people, had to pivot and learn how to do the online thing and do the Zoom thing, where Catherine and I have been doing the Zoom thing. Then before that, it was Google Hangouts. Before that, it was what was it? Go to webinar, right? Or yeah. And I think there was something else before that. So we've been doing that for many years. I've been coaching online for 30 years. So, but during that time, I actually stepped back like a lot of other people, but not near in the same way as most people. So most people stepped back because they were freaking out. I had just got remarried in the height of COVID, after being widowed for 8 years. And so, and we married 4 months after we met. So it was time for us to get to know each other. So the COVID was just like a blessing for us that it came, and we were able to stay indoors for 24/7 for a while.
Perfect timing.
It's a blessing in disguise for everything. That's a great question. Thank you. Thank you, Marlene.
Welcome.
There's never enough time when we get together and we start to have these conversations, right? We talk about an interview, we talk about a show, but really we want to talk about life. And it's been so much fun to do that with you right now. Just in case something has come up while we're chatting, is there something that you would like to say to your audience and our audience tonight? Some words of wisdom from Marlene Marco, the founder of Heart of Networking. Marlene Marco, the friend, the neighbor, the family member. Is there something you'd like to say that will live forever on our YouTube channel and our gratitudegirls.com website?
Well, I think part of gratitude is passing it forward and really being generous. You talked about giving gifts before, and it could be the gift of your knowledge or the gift of your time. But I think those are the two things. Curiosity and generosity are things that are basics for building a strong foundation for our relationship. And I think if we keep that in mind and really truly continue to support other women, other people, but we work a lot with women. That builds strength. It builds strength not only in the other person, but in yourself as well. And I think that's what we need to keep doing, is being generous and being curious.
That's great advice, Marlene. And for those who are with us tonight for the first time, if you're thinking about networking and some networking tips, there's a lot of golden nuggets in this show tonight. And I know I rewatch it as soon as we're done, and I take notes then. So we've really said a lot of great things to help a lot of people. And I love the collaboration that we have. I would go on forever with this, but Lori, maybe you can talk a little bit to our audience about how can they connect with us. With Marlene, her notes, her information will be in the show notes. What can someone do to step in, lean in with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So make sure to go to all of our links, Catherine, mine, and Marlene's, and click on everything. Follow us just everywhere, right? If you found something valuable out of the show, make sure to leave a comment below, leave us a review on whatever platform that you're listening to us on or following us on, and go to gratitudegirls.com. See that our past shows there. We've got 10 years going on 11 years, or we're in our 11th year of all kinds of shows every single month. So there's so much information there, as well as go to facebook.com/gratitudegirls. Make sure to like and follow us there. And if you're interested in being like Marlene, you have to wait over a year. I think it's about a year and a half right now is our waiting list. But send us your gratitude story, click message right there. Send us your gratitude story. Tell us why you want us to feature you on the show. Make sure to give us your phone number, your email, your contact information, and tune in next month right here, the same channel.
Thank you. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Marlene, and to our audience. It's been a pleasure and a lot of fun.
Good night,
Thank you.
everyone.
Good night.